Dreams. We're all born with them. Dreams of adventure, of finding a sense of purpose, meaning, of reaching our full potential. And wherever your dreams take you, your journey starts with UAC.
Hi, I'm Abby from the University of Newcastle. I'm studying medical radiation science, diagnostic radiography.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kenny, and I'm currently in my second year studying a Bachelor of Medical Science at the University of Technology, Sydney, Australia. Prior to this, I was actually studying a Bachelor of Criminology and Criminal Justice at UNSW. For various reasons, I've decided to change my degree, mostly due to my personal interests and passions have changed in the last few years. So that's why I'm doing medical science, and hopefully in the future, I could get into medicine.
Hi, my name's Courtney and I study the Bachelor of Medical Radiation Science at the University of Canberra.
When I finished school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was pretty lost. I just knew I wanted to study something in health. So I sort of just looked through the booklet that everyone gets in Year 12 that your career advisor gives you. And I said, what sort of things can I do? What would I want to do? What would I want my life to be like? And then just flagged a few courses from there, looked into them a bit. I went to the open day at the University of Newcastle and went to some workshops to the courses that I flagged and learnt more about them. I still wasn't sure when I finished the HSC, and I actually went on a holiday with my sister, just ignoring the possibilities of what I was going to do. And when I came back, I found out I had a scholarship and was also accepted into medical radiation science at UON. And I just felt like it all fell into place, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do now.
I think it all started with my parents, as stereotypical as that sounds. My dad especially had a very big influence on what I wanted to do in the future. So he was a military man. And so that's what I wanted to become, or I wanted to find something that I could actually, be part of and serve my community and just be a part of Australia. Because, growing up as an Asian in a predominantly Caucasian society is very difficult. So I thought, I need to find a way that people would acknowledge me. And so, joining the military or being part of the police force was one of my passions. And so, growing up, I decided, joining the military, police force, that's what I want to do. So I chose my electives in high school to suit my career pathway as well. So, taking up legal studies or economics, modern history, more humanities related subjects. And then going further into that, that's when I started to decide what sort of degrees that I wanted to do in university. And then I came across criminology and I thought, this is something that I could definitely achieve. I could definitely achieve the ATAR required for it. And so that's how I decided I wanted to go into criminology at UNSW.
So when I finished school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. However, I felt like I needed to go to uni. So I took a gap year off, worked in my hometown, saved some money, and then I applied for the Bachelor of Media and Communications and Journalism. So I started that degree. I thought I was a good writer, so I felt that maybe that was something down my alley. After a couple of years, though, I felt like it wasn't for me. It wasn't really something I was super interested in. I had lost the drive to see myself in that industry. So I decided to put my studies on hold and go away, do a bit of growing, have a bit of life skill and life experience behind me. And then a few years later, I decided I would like to go in the direction of a health science degree. So I applied for a Bachelor of Medical Radiation Science and I'm currently studying that. I'm on my final placement at the moment. I felt like I would like to do something like that because I really like people. I like helping people. I like medical things. I find it really interesting, and being able to help people is really good.
When I say I didn't know what I wanted to do, I really mean that. I literally had no idea. I was at that point where I was just like, I want to finish the HSC, go on a holiday to celebrate being done, and then I'll worry about it when I come back. So I actually applied to unis all across New South Wales for all different degrees. I made sure I got in for early entry to different courses like sciences and teaching, just so I had opportunities for when I decided what I wanted to do. Obviously, the medical radiation science isn't offered in early rounds. It's only offered in the December rounds from there. So I didn't find out about any of these sort of courses till then. And that's when I sort of decided that this is the path I wanted to go in.
In regards to criminology, my initial thoughts were that the different universities would probably offer the courses differently, but that wasn't the case. So generally speaking, with a university degree, it's pretty standard across the board. It's more how they approach the content and how they want to teach you the content and how they get you to put that theory into practice. So for me, again, this is going to sound very stereotypical. UNSW is a very prestigious university. So I thought, you know what? Going to UNSW would be a great opportunity, to get a good degree and then to get hired after that. But then after certain circumstances, so a little bit more about my backstory. I've had a lot of injuries in the past, so especially with my back. I've got 2 herniated discs. And so when I did apply to the military and I did apply to the police force, I got rejected and twice rejected. And so that completely shattered my entire career pathway. And so that's why I decided to explore other avenues. And I did look into something a little bit more finance related, seeing as I did economics in high school and I really enjoyed it, but that wasn't really it for me. And so I thought, what else do I really enjoy? And I found that I always had a fascination about the human body. And so medicine was something on my radar now, but I didn't know exactly how I could get there. And so that's when I started doing research into medical science, because I actually didn't do any sciences in high school. And I thought, I'm going to need some background knowledge before I go into medicine, even though that's not really the case. But I decided I wanted to go through that process, learn, get the foundational knowledge before I applied to medicine. And so I did my research on the various medical science or science degrees available around the state. There was a whole range of different science courses like advanced science, pre-medicine, medical science, sciences with various majors such as in genetics. And I ultimately decided the right course for me and the right university for me would be UTS, because I felt like I needed a more holistic approach to science. So with UTS medical science, especially with the degree that I'm doing, the Bachelor of Medical Science, there wasn't a specific major that you had to go down with. And so I really enjoy that. And I'll go into that a little bit later on as we go through the questions.
So my research into the course was kind of more like a social research. It was people who I'd met, people who I'd spoken to, people within different health areas that I kind of was able to create a dialogue with and ask around and see what my options were, what I thought I would like the most. So in that sense, that was my research more so than looking at the marks that I needed to get and things like that. So yeah. Medical radiation science or radiography was sort of the clear winner for me. I have family members that are in health as well, that are nurses, and I felt that wasn't particularly for me. I wanted something a little more, I don't know, just different, that kind of like really challenged the way I was going to learn. So once I ruled out a nursing degree, I had a look at radiography. I had a few friends that had done it in the past, and I had an old neighbour, family friend that was a radiographer. So it was always in the back of my mind, and it just kind of took a few years to really decide that was something I wanted to do, and I saw myself in a career.
Okay, so I grew up in a small country town in rural New South Wales, about 9 hours from here. So I didn't really get the opportunity to go to many open days, I will say that. But when I thought ULN might be the place I was going, when I came to their open day with 3 of my friends, we drove down, we did a little road trip in year 12, and we came down for the open day to experience a bit about university. My plan of attack was any course that I thought I might like, I'm going to go to their little session, their workshop, and have a go, listen to what they've got to say and see if that resonates with me and something I could see myself doing. If it was, then I continued to do more research on it. And if it's not, then I knew straight there I could cross it off and keep looking for what I wanted to do.
So I actually started going to open days since year 10. I just really wanted to have a look at what university life is like. And so ever since year 10, I went with a few of my friends to all the open days. So I went to UCIT, UTS, UNSW, even went to Wollongong as well. It just fascinated me. I think for me, I didn't particularly enjoy high school just because there wasn't a lot of freedom in what we can actually do and, how we manage our time. And whereas university, I had an idea of what university would be like. It's going to be you're going to be more independent. There's a lot of freedom in what you want to, I guess, study in a sense, but it'll be more, specific to what you actually like. And so that fascinated me and I wanted to know more about it. So I've been going since year 10, and every single year, even if I've been to the universities once before, I'd go again just to see if, it's the same sort of vibes.
So I didn't really go to any university open days. I didn't really know about them too much beforehand. So that wasn't really something I took on board in deciding to do my degree. But just with the locality of the university in Canberra, it was only a few hours away from home. It had really good semesters and breaks. So I was able to go home and work during those times. So for me, the draw card to go to the University of Canberra was just like the ease of going back and forth to my hometown and the fact that it had a really good course set up there.
So the application process for getting into uni was definitely overwhelming to begin with. I was like very confused and overwhelmed at like all the decisions I had to make for my future. But once I understood the process, it was pretty straightforward, and it actually gave me reassurance that I was taking the right path and I would get into the courses in the order I wanted to get into them. Once I knew how to use it and set up my 5 preferences, it was actually pretty simple for me because I always knew that I kept the top ones, the ones that I really wanted at the top, and then the ones that were my backups were down the bottom. And obviously in the early entry sort of rounds, I couldn't get into medical radiation science or any allied health degrees directly. And so I got into different sciences and different degrees just in case I chose a different path. But obviously I was drawn to health and allied health, and I wanted specifically this course. So I still kept it at the top even for the rounds that it wasn't offered. So eventually when the rounds that it was offered came around, I got my offer.
Very simple. Even now, just going through the process again, because I am reapplying for undergrad medicine. But yeah, the process was incredibly simple. I think high school, I guess speaking to my careers advisor, she gave me a lot of insight on how UAC works. Going to those career markets where UACs, have their stand up and they'll tell you how the whole process works. Getting all that information really helped. And so actually going through the process the first time was incredibly simple. You just sign up, you put your details in, and then you rank your preferences, your course preferences in the order that you want, I guess, your most favorite course at the first, and then after that, you got your 5 preferences after that. But I found the whole process incredibly easy, and even applying for something like EAS as well, or SRS, again, very, very simple and straightforward.
So because I was a non-school leaver, the application process was a little bit different to compare if I was a school leaver. So I applied directly through the uni. So that process was quite flowy and smooth. I had my previous degree that I had commenced a few years earlier. So there was already I had results with the uni. I'd already been enrolled there before. I had a good transcript. So I felt that made the process a lot smoother than it would be applying, without something behind you.
I guess I could say I didn't have too much of an expectation of what uni life would be like beforehand. I sort of knew bits and pieces about it as my sister was already at uni and I went to the open day. But I feel like you never know if that's true to what uni is until you're here. So moving from country New South Wales to go to the University of Newcastle, I actually had to move away from my parents and family. So I moved onto campus. So I would say I didn't really have too much of an expectation except to meet people, hopefully make some friends and study the course that I love to do instead of just the courses that I had to do for my HSC.
So when I was in year 10, I had a lot of year 12 friends, and they they sort of told me that, university is like doing the HSC twice every single semester, every 3 months or so. And I thought, man, I don't know about that. And so I thought it was going to be like that, but at the same time, I knew that, with university, going to all these open days and talking to university students before I came and after I started university, my opinion of university didn't really change as much. I knew for a fact that yes, it's going to be busy, but I'm going to be independent. And of course, there's going to be plenty of time for me to, work, study, have some fun with friends, a good balance compared to what high school would be like. Whereas high school was very much more rigid, there's the nine to 3 or 9 to 5 if you're doing extension subjects. Yeah, so I think with university, I knew there was a lot more flexibility, even though the challenge is to be independent, but that's something that really excited me.
So the first time I went to uni, I was pretty unaware of the workload and the self-directed learning that was going to have to, really be taken on board personally, especially tied in with social activities and things like that. So going into uni, I definitely had been told by people that, it was going to take a lot of organization and scheduling and making sure you had enough time to get your assignments done and really understand the content. So when I came back for the second time, I was kind of, understood the requirements of myself and that, the teachers were there to support our learning, but there was a huge onus on yourself to really put in the work if you wanted the marks. So coming back the second time was certainly a lot easier just because I knew what to expect.
That's a hard one because obviously with COVID over the past 2 years, uni life in general has changed, not just for me, but for everyone. So it's definitely, even if I had expectations, I wouldn't say it would be anything like this. But I feel like everyone's just adapting and this is becoming the new normal for uni. The course content that I'm currently studying, it's mainly what I thought it would be after I did my research into the course, but a few courses like that they throw in there have caught me by surprise, like the stats course, physics a bit. I just didn't expect how big of a part it would be, but it's a very good environment to learn and to take on those courses that you didn't expect but can still excel at.
Absolutely. So when I first started university at UNSW doing criminology, I think the social elements of it was definitely promising, and the flexibility that I had and the independence that I sort of received, being a university student and as an adult now, that was all, what I expected to be, from what I thought it would be in high school. The only thing that I would say dampened my first experience with university was the actual course itself. So with criminology, there was a lot of confusion of what criminology actually is. So there's a misconception that criminology is very similar to forensic science, or people who do criminology would go on to working as like criminal profilers, like in NCIS. But that's not really the case. Criminology is really looking at what causes crime and the systems in place in crime to prevent crime. And it's sort of a philosophical look at what crime is in general to society. And so that took me by surprise. But when it came to medical science, that was a completely different experience. Medical science was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It went through all the basic sciences and I learned about the human body. And, that came about because I spoke to a lot more students. I spoke to the students who were actually in the faculty of science, like representatives. And I actually went to the university as well and had a, look at the labs as well. And so when I did transfer over to UTS for medical science, my understanding of what science is going to be matched my expectation as well.
So coming from the arts degree, there's a real specific way of learning. You're given a lot more wiggle room and, you're given a space to form, opinions on the topics, given it's the arts, politics, sort of media degrees. And then coming into a health degree, it's quite black and white. You either know what you know or you don't. So the way of learning is quite different, and the writing style is very different. So the transition from one to the other was almost a little bit of a pretty big stepping stone. However, given the support of the faculty, and reaching out for help when you don't need it, it really worked out quite well for me.
In terms of what I'm studying in my course, the first bit is really a lot of introduction to health, introduction to health sciences. And a lot of allied health people, we all do. So OTs, nurses, we all did the same to start with. And then from second sem and on, we start to break out, still having some of those core units the same, like psychology to health or physics. But we start to break out and we're doing methods and practices for myself of diagnostic radiography, because that's my branch of medical radiation science. So radiation therapy is what I studied last year before transferring to diagnostic radiography. Radiation therapy is actually planning and executing the treatment for cancer patients. And then when I was on placement for radiation therapy, I decided this is not what I want to do. Although I love treating the patients and I love the hands-on time that I got treating them, setting them up for treatment, seeing them every day, that was great. I love that. But the other side to it was planning the treatment for the patient. So you liaise with the doctor to get what sort of treatment they need and then planning it, which is pretty much all done on the computer in a computer lab. And that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't feel like that would fulfill me for those 3 months that you would be in planning. So that part of the role I didn't really love. So I wanted to make a change to something that I love more. So that's radiation therapy. And then the other branch that I haven't done is nuclear medicine. So I don't know too much about that because I haven't studied that. And then diagnostic radiography is what we're doing is we're taking images of the patient's like anatomy and inside, and we're diagnosing what conditions they have. So like x-rays, all that sort of thing. We do so much anatomy, it's unreal. And you like learn it for the course and you're like, yeah, I've learned so much. I've got it. And then you forget it and have to do it all over again. But in a way, it's a good thing because then eventually you're going to know your stuff. Like once you studied it that often, study different parts of the bodies in detail, you definitely get to know exactly what everything is. So it's definitely a big part of our course. Yeah.
With medical science, much like with most science courses, in your first year, it's going to be mostly your basic sciences. So your basic chemistry, your basic biology, physics, a little bit of maths and statistics. And then going further on, you'll learn about the human body, so human anatomy. And with my course in particular, so we had a lot of cadaver labs as well, which was really, really exciting. So a little bit about cadaver labs is that UTS has its own body donation program. And so people who have recently deceased, they've generously donated their body to our university. They've been surgically prosected by our surgical and anatomical team. And we get to go into these labs where these parts of the human body have been laid out in front of us, and we can actually interact with the internal mechanisms of the human body. And that was really, really exciting. And then further on from that, so in second year, we go into more specifics of each of those basic sciences. So for example, in chemistry, we'll go into something like organic chemistry. And then we might go into something like genetics for relating to biology. And then we could go into more specifics relating to physiological systems, or I guess stuff like diseases or how certain drugs will affect the body, like in pharmacology. And so that's in second year. And then in the third year, we go a little bit more broad. So there's stuff like more advanced statistics, and then we're looking at medical devices. So it's a very, very broad range of courses and units that you can actually undertake. And I think that's a strength of the medical science degree at UTS, just for the fact that you're not going to be limited to just one sort of direction, whereas you can explore different avenues and really find out what you really like. And of course, we do have free electives as well. So if you do know that you want to focus more on something else, you can choose electives that are more related to the fields that you want to go into. For example, if you want to do more genetic related subjects or more chemistry related subjects, that's always an option for you as well.
So the degree really started off with those core introductory units. So introduction to health, introduction to research, your basic anatomy and physiology subjects, just so you really understand what you're going into, how the health system works, and understanding the core concepts of around the human body. In the second year, we kind of delved deeper into the core subjects that surround medical radiation science, your physics units, into dosimetry to do with radiation physics and chemistry. So we kind of honed in on that quite a lot in the second year, as well as specific factors in terms of patient communication, patient positioning, how to behave and work in those sorts of environments. Because in second year, at the end of semester 2, you are introduced to your first placements. So you really want to have an understanding of those core concepts in medical radiation science before you hop on to those first placements. In the third year, you kind of delve a little bit more deeper into some more concepts and more challenging human anatomy and physiology, understanding how the body works, signs to look for, in particular imaging modalities, things like that, and the safety surrounding working with such a powerful phenomenon, radiation. And then the fourth year, we kind of finalize with these longer placements where we're pretty much out in the working environment, participating in patient care and offering a service, and really working towards that graduate position where we're fully qualified and feeling safe to do so, feeling like we know what we're doing and we're confident.
So uni life is pretty much constantly changing, especially because of COVID-19 and all the changes we've seen at uni for that. But it's still been pretty exciting, to be honest. It's something new. It's moving away from home. It's meeting new people and meeting like-minded people that you know that you're going to be friends with forever. Like it's very exciting. I'm not going to lie, it definitely has challenges. You definitely forget assignments when you're too busy socializing. But it's literally so much fun. Like it's not like school. It's so different from school, and that's like one of the best parts of it.
Of course, there's been a lot of struggling with COVID around. So I've spent I've spent half of my degree at home rather than at university in the labs, which has been unfortunate. But, the times that I've been at university and been in the labs, they've been amazing. So I'm a person who learns through practicals, and, being a science degree, there's a lot of practical elements to it. And so that's something that I've definitely enjoyed. And in terms of, getting that independence, which I've been rattling on so much about, there's been so much, with university, it's really, really flexible with time management as well. So currently I'm actually working 3 jobs whilst also working, doing full-time uni, and, also maintaining a social life, over Zoom or, with societies. So uni life has been busy, but it's been fun, and it's exactly what I expected it to be and wanted it to be.
I would probably still just say that the best part about being a uni student is that in your course you can meet lots of like-minded people with people with similar values, similar outlooks on life, similar things that they want to do that you can really relate to. Like the University of Newcastle has, I reckon, almost 10 times the amount of people enrolled that there is in my hometown. So just moving here and having the opportunity to meet all these new people is just unreal. And especially in my course, it starts big and you meet lots of people in those generalized courses that I was talking about earlier, which all of Allied Health do. And then as you slowly progress, you come into more specific courses for your course, and then you can meet those people that you'll be doing the rest of your 4 years here with.
Definitely the flexibility, which is also something that I've been rattling on about. Yeah, being able to study and then being able to work in an industry that's related to your degree at the same time is a big bonus, because for a fact that you're not wasting your time with your studying. And I think something a lot of high school students would ask themselves is, oh, why do I need to learn this? When am I actually going to use this? That's not the case in university anymore, because what you're learning is something that you're going to actually be able to apply later on in your career. And so I think knowing that and having the flexibility to both work and study at the same time is probably the best part of being at university. That and, the societies and the friends, of course, that's always going to be fun. But, being able to know that, you're not wasting time and everything you're learning is applicable.
So the best part about being at uni, I guess, is making friends who have the same interests as you. So you've all been drawn to the same course for whatever reason, and you kind of find your similarities and your differences, and you learn to become great mates with people who you wouldn't really have met in a world if you didn't do this degree. So the social aspect of it has been a really supportive one. We're all there to help each other through exam period, through times of high stress when there's 1,000 things due at the same time. And so that's really helpful. So, it's been a bit difficult due to the impact of the pandemic, with most subjects going online, and when we're going into uni, it's such strict COVID measures and things like that. So in that sense, I feel like it was a little bit of the experience lost. However, these things you can't change, so you just have to adapt to them. And we had a really supportive team that, coped with their own challenging things to put a really practical subject completely online for the most part. So it's definitely been a challenging degree, but without the support of my fellow undergrads in the degree, I think we all got each other through.
So I got into UN in 2020 for medical radiation science, radiation therapy honours, which is a branch of obviously medical radiation science, but radiation therapy is actually planning and treatment of cancer patients, which I thoroughly loved. I loved interacting with the patients and giving them treatment, which I got to experience on placement. However, I wasn't as excited to do the planning side of that, which consisted of just being in like a computer lab, working on a computer for up to 3 months, depending on which department you're in. So that's when I made the decision to go back and look at my research from before I started and have a look at another branch of medical radiation science, which I also was thoroughly considering before I started, and that was diagnostic radiography. So I actually, over the last summer, I changed into diagnostic radiography, which is just another branch of medical radiation science. So it has the same name, just in brackets at the end, is now diagnostic radiography. So this branch is more about, we're taking x-rays and images of the patients to diagnose what's happening there, but we're not doing any treatment. And this isn't limited to cancer patients either. It's just like your standard, if you're going to get an x-ray at a hospital, that would be diagnostic radiography. So one of the reasons that I actually decided to change in the end, sort of pushed me over the edge of actually applying for my transfer, was the job opportunities that you could get at the end of your degree. So radiation therapy is obviously quite limited. Because you're treating cancer patients, you have to be where the cancer centres are. So where you have to go where the centres are. Whereas for diagnostic radiography, you can just take x-rays in a hospital. So every hospital literally has an x-ray department. Like there's so many jobs. I would say there's more jobs in more areas instead of specifically in the one spot. You can sort of spread out. You have more freedom of what you want to do when you finish your degree, which I didn't even know what I wanted to do coming into uni, let alone do I know what I want to do in another 3 years when I leave uni. I have ideas, but I just don't know. And I didn't want to be locked into having to go to a certain location just because that's where the job is. I wanted to have options for my future.
Regarding my thoughts on changing my courses, as I've said before, going to UNSW and studying criminology wasn't exactly what I expected it to be, but I thought I would complete it. At least, it would get me where I wanted to go. But of course, I had my injuries, being directly rejected by both the police force and the military was heartbreaking. And so that prompted me to change my course. And I thought what I would like to do in my life, that, I wanted to do something that I could still sort of serve my community. And I thought, what, in science, in research, in medicine, you're always going to be constantly trying to find ways to improve people's lives. And so that's why I decided to go into medicine. But even now, I've had thoughts about extending my degree. So for example, I've recently made another UAC application, gone through the entire process, mainly for the applying to undergrad medicine, but I've also looked into possibly extending my degree. So doing like a double degree on top of my medical science degree. So I've applied for medical science and law and medical science and engineering with a major in mechatronics.
So I never really had any overwhelming feel that I needed to change my degree at all. I was pretty happy with my choice. I never got halfway through or was questioning why I made that decision in the first place. But I think it's really important to be honest with yourself in that if you are really not feeling your degree, if you're not confident that you're there for the right reasons, or if it's the degree for you, that you have to be honest with yourself and really think about what you want, if that's going away, stepping back from uni. and coming back with a refreshed feeling of what you really want to do with your life and with your career, you have that opportunity. It's not a bad thing or something to be ashamed of if you need to change your degree. So from that aspect, I never thought about changing my degree. I mean, we all get to that point where we're so stressed out, we're just like, oh, we just want to quit. But it's definitely been a worthwhile experience sticking with my degree. And yeah, I never felt like I had to leave or I wanted to leave.
My hopes and dreams for when I finish my degree, I really want to live overseas. I want to move overseas and work overseas and explore different cultures, different countries. So I'm very lucky that my degree will be recognized overseas. So I'll have that option to be able to pursue that and still work.
So obviously, medicine is my chosen pathway, but of course, medicine is it's a highly competitive degree to get into, and the success rate, is quite slim. And so in the meantime, I'm going to keep trying for medicine, but if that's not the case, then I would undertake an honors year, do some research, probably relating to my own personal injuries. So something to do with spinal cord injuries. And if once I finish that, I'll probably work in the industry for a little bit, do some more research. And I did look into doing some postgrad courses as well. So I did look at Masters of Nursing, and I also looked at Masters of Genetic Counseling as well. So that would keep me busy in the meantime. And, it'll still be related to what I want to do in life, doing research, helping people. But ultimately, medicine would be the final goal.
So my hopes and my dreams for finishing this degree are probably to get a job. I think a lot of people are lucky enough to walk straight into a job. I don't have anything lined up just at the moment. I'm kind of leaving my options open. There's so many avenues you can go down in medical radiation science. You can work privately, publicly, rural, metropolitan. For me, I really see myself in the future working at a larger hospital, a larger metropolitan hospital. I just really like the variety of people you come in, the different modalities you can work in, the ability to upskill. I mean, you can do that privately as well, but upskilling from general x-rays to CT scanning and MRI. You can do a postgraduate in sonography. So there's so many avenues you can really go down. But for me, it's just getting my foot in the door, really networking. And radiography is a very small sort of cohort. So I really would like just to get my foot in the door, get a job maybe somewhere on the coast and just set up and begin that career progression, upskilling, continuing professional development and taking each day as it comes, but enjoying it along the way. So my final tip for someone going into or wanting to go into medical radiation science is go in with an open mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know the answers, there are people around you that are going to be willing to help you, and just really don't go too hard on yourself. Take it easy, stay organized, stay structured, get enough sleep, just like anything, and make sure you give time to yourself for your life as well, because it's going to make you a better person, a better radiographer and a better student if you balance everything in your life really well. So go for it, and just don't be too hard on yourself and enjoy the ride.
So I think there's a lot of fear relating to changing degrees. There's that time element as well, and then if you're on a HECSTET, then there's also that piling up. But I think the most important thing would be just to do what you actually enjoy. If you actually enjoy it, then you're going to succeed in it.
UAC represents many institutions across New South Wales and the ACT. The universities featured in today's webinar are a small selection of the many institutions which offer the courses discussed today. Students should research all university offerings so they can make informed decisions regarding their future study.